What it do, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am here to talk all about the In the Dark palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. Now this is a palette that I more so recently picked up, and they just kind of arranged the actual palette, and I think they might have changed the quality of the formulation as well. If I remember correctly, they changed this shadow up here, which used to be a white, and they now have it as a purple. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe that was the changes that they made as a brand towards this palette. So anyways, though, if you're interested in hearing about this palette, seeing some swatches, getting some product information, and then of course getting a 3 looks tutorial from me, and then at the very end getting my current thoughts when it comes to this particular palette, then just keep watching. Alrighty, when I picked up this palette, I picked it up on, I don't know if I picked it up on launch, but I think I picked it up pretty early on after they launched this palette. And this palette, it has 22.5 grams of product, or 0.79 ounces. It is 24-month shelf life, cruelty free. It is recyclable, and it is made in the PRC, which I believe all of their palettes are made in the PRC. So this is what it looks like. It has this kind of gothic background picturing. This was originally available as a bundle for their holiday release. I decided not to pick it up because I did not want the highlighter, and I believe they had a lip product in there as well. I didn't want them. I really only wanted the palette, so I was just hoping that they would eventually release this as a single product, and thankfully they did. Super excited about that. So this is the palette. It is these 8 shades, and these are that big pan that they have. All of their palettes lately have been these huge pans, but I guess that works for the brand. So as you can see, there are 2 shimmer metallic situations, which definitely have quite a few shimmers in there, so they give off more of like a duochrome effect. And then you have those 6 mattes in between. Really nice. You don't really get any light shades in here, although I think you can definitely blend them out to appear light. As you can see, even my crease today feels like it goes from a light to a nice amount of depth for kind of a day toned look. And yeah, really pretty. I do just want to mention very quickly that I picked up a few of their brushes. I believe I only picked up 4. Yeah, I believe I only picked up 4. I picked up the 6 brush, which is their pencil brush. I picked up the 7, which is, I believe, their biggest blending brush. I picked up the 5, which is like their blending and packing brush, and then I picked up the 4, which is like the lid brush. Do be kind, I have not cleaned these brushes, and I was actually using them in 2 of the tutorials for this video, so I just haven't had the time to clean them. I really like the decoration. So on the front, let me turn it around. On the front, they have that like half moon situation, which seems to be very reminiscent to all of the products on Unearthly. And then they also have that nice ombre effect at the bottom, and of course the name of the actual brush, and then of course the name of the brand. I really appreciate that they put the name of the actual brush on these brushes. I'm realizing that that's not like an automatic, as I told you guys more recently that Sydney Grace did not do that for their brushes. Now, I did just want to compare the size of these brushes to what I would consider a more traditional brush. So this is the 2 brushes. This is an Eddie Funkhauser brush, and this is the Unearthly brush. This one happens to be the 4, and you can see there is quite a bit of difference lengthwise, and I'll do it like that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like an eyesore or anything like that, but it is something I feel that is important, because if we're being honest, had I known that this was not a full length, I wouldn't have bought them. I personally prefer full lengths. I do have nicely sized hands, and so your girl needs all that handle length so I can feel like I can really hold control, whereas I feel like I don't really have as much control with these because my hands eat the brushes up. They eat them up. So I'm basically at the, what is this called? The I know it's an anglet for shoes. Maybe that's the same thing. I'm basically at the fastening right here. That's where the tip of my hand is. Whereas if I'm on a normal brush, if I'm holding it like that, there's still a decent chunk of space before I get to that fastening. So just words of caution for those who are like me and prefer a certain length of brush. So I think that's all the information that I really need to give you guys. I guess I could give you guys some of the ingredients really quickly. There is mica and talc in this formulation. I feel like silica isn't something that's really crazy or anything like that. I think talc and mica are the two ingredients that I see that are really alarming to some people. But yeah, that's pretty much that. Let's dive into the overhead swatches of this palette. I will be doing it on my arm in just a second, and on the screen right now I will actually have the Instagram swatch photo like I always do. As I like to remind you guys, on the screen, the swatch that you see, this is going to be the shadows built up. I like to do that for Instagram so you can literally see the potential for the shadow on my arm. Whereas in just a second, when we go to the live swatches, I try my absolute best only to do a one swatch look so you can see kind of the true pigmentation of the shadow swatched on my arm. That said, sometimes I do two just because like I am a dummy and I don't pick up enough product to actually go over my whole arm. But that's also why in these videos I also give you guys tutorials so you can see the shadows literally applied to my eyes. And I did of course use every last shadow in this palette during these three looks. So yeah, I'm gonna stop blabbing. Let's get into the live swatches. Alrighty guys, so let's get into the nitty gritty. This is the cardboard packaging. As you can see, it has the same design as the actual palette does, and then on the back you have all the same information that is actually on the palette, which I love. I love that you can literally throw this away and not feel you're losing any information or anything like that. So easy way to throw away this. Here is the actual palette. It has quite a nice feel to it, like nice and heavy, which I do appreciate. There is a mirror, and so I'm going to cover that up with the cardboard packaging. And here are the shadows. So very simple layout. I really like that, the 2 shimmers and the 6 mattes. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and swatch these on camera as I like to do, and I might need to zoom out just a little bit, but that's pretty much that. Alrighty, as always, we have natural lighting over here, and then behind me there is a ceiling light. That's all the lighting that is currently on my arm. And as always, I have my foundation matches down in the description box in case you want to see which foundations match me. These are the shadows swatched on my arm. Super simple, super easy. I really like the color scheme. It definitely gears more towards the blue and the purple, of course, with just the one hint of green, but it's a really nice color scheme. And just remember, I did double swatch this one just because it didn't seem you could even get the color. At least with everything else, you could at least see what the color is on my complexion. But that's it. We are just gonna hop right into the first tutorial now. Hey guys, so I'm here to bring you guys another 3 looks 1 palette. I am so very excited. I am trying yet another palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. I did pick this up with my own money per usual, and this one is the In the Dark palette. So really excited for this. I'm sure I went full in detail at the intro, so I'm not going to go too far into it. I am, at least for this look, going to use their brushes. I did pick up a couple of their brushes. I don't distinctly know off the top of my head if I picked them all up, but right here I have 4 different brushes. So I'm gonna open these up, clean them off, I'm gonna see what they are, and then we're gonna really start this look. Okay, so that took forever. I will say arguably this doesn't have all of the shapes that I will typically use. It has some of the smaller shapes, but not the big fluffy brush. So I did pull a clean rougher 16 because I do like to start my looks off or in them depending on kind of what I ultimately want my look to be like with this type of look. So yeah, let's dig into the palette. Okay, so this is the palette, literally opening it for the first time. Per usual, Unearthly's legitimate pan size is always bigger than I expect or truly need, but it's okay. Today I think I'm gonna go dark. Of course, this is a pretty dark palette, but I think I kind of want to go, I don't really know. Okay, let's start. First, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take the more flat blending brush. Does this have a name? This doesn't have a name, and I will say, oh, it does. It's the UC8-5. I will say these are kind of small compared to the normal handle length that I am used to. But anyways, I think I want to start off with the darkest shade. I really want this to be nice and dark and deep. So I'm going to start off with In the Dark. And I am using the Natasha Denona eyeshadow base today. I will be using a variety of other bases though throughout this video, so do keep that in mind. But first we're going to just start off with this In the Dark shadow, and it's nice and dark and sultry. And what I'm going to do is just use the remaining product on this brush, and I am just going to slowly start the blending process. As you can see, there is quite the amount of pigment on this brush. A lot of pigment. I've only dipped in that one time, and I've done my whole lower lash line as well as pretty much the whole crease. I didn't even expect it to be this blown out, so that's interesting. And now I can tell that it's a blue. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my biggest blending brush and I am going to tap in extremely lightly into the Paranormal shade, which is the lighter blue. So I'm gonna match these two together. And what I want to do is really just add to the blending process. I really want this to be kind of a blown out look. I've been seeing that type of style lately, and I don't know, I feel like doing it myself. So this is going to be pretty simple but dark at the same time. Okay, so I went ahead and got my other eye caught up, and I will say it has been a while since I've literally had blue eyeshadow on, so I don't know, it just feels like I look weird, but it's okay. So there are two shimmers, and at the time of recording this, I haven't swatched either, but I think what I'm going to do is bring this blue over a little bit more, and then I'm going to lay Illusion all on my lid and my inner corner just to add some brightness. I really wish there was a white in this palette, but it's okay. So let me see, there is a flat brush. The flat brush is the UC8-4. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start. I want to see what this shade looks like, and I'm having some difficulty getting this to pick up on the brush. So this looks to be like a duochrome. This is not a straight up blue. Okay, I can work with this. Okay, so let me go ahead and put this on my lid. You know what? I know what I'm gonna do. Okay, highly annoyed. I just went and looked for at least a good 10-15 minutes and I could not find it. I was gonna use the Juvia's Place, or was it Colored Rain? I was gonna use the base that I don't like, that was a white base, as a base to brighten this whole thing up, but I can't seem to find it. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply this. Okay, I'm gonna use my finger because that's just not working at all. And yeah, this would just pop more if it had a white base. I just can't. I'm so annoyed right now. Okay, that process was so long for no reason because I seem to have thrown away the Colored Rain base that I did not like. And I didn't like it as a normal base, but I thought I had kept it for this type of look. But basically what I did is I just cleaned out my lid with my Natasha Denona base again, and then I just set that primer with Taco from Sugar Pill. It is one of the only / best whites that I have in my collection, and I did all of that with that same brush that I kind of left talking to you guys with, which is the UC8-4 brush from Unearthly Cosmetics. So I like this as a base, and now what I'm gonna do is use this same brush to go back into Illusion, and I am just gonna apply this on top, and that's just gonna have Illusion pop so much more than it would have otherwise. So yeah. Okay, so this is pretty much the first finished look. Really nice and dimensional. I feel like I was able to get really light to really dark. I did have to reach out of the palette, but either way, I'm really liking this look. I'm just going to hop off camera, finish out my look with my liner, mascara, and I think I'm gonna throw on some lashes today as well, and then I'll come back to show you guys my first finished look. Alrighty guys, so this is the finished look. So yeah, this is my first finished look with the In the Dark palette. I'm enjoying this look. I think it looks really, really fun. If you're wondering lashes, I have the Ardell Lash Contour Sculpt and Define Outer Volume Lashes. I will of course have them listed down below for you all. But with that said, this is the end of look number 1. Let's get into look number 2. Hey y'all, so I'm here to bring you guys look number 2 tonight, and for my base today I'm using my Playing in Makeup by Yolando base in E. I like to use this base a lot when I'm trying to get my looks to look even darker than maybe they naturally would, or kind of darker than maybe they would look on like a lighter base, obviously. So what I'm gonna go into is the shade Obscure, which is this like more greeny kind of camel-y shade. If we're being honest, this is definitely a shade that I could see me wearing like literally every day as just kind of a no makeup shade. And ultimately what I ended up doing is actually just throwing this all over my whole eye. So I'm just gonna kind of build it and fluff it in this crease. It is going to be the transition shade, the crease shade, and it's going to be kind of the base shade all over my lid. This was a shade that I really wanted to enjoy. I did originally do another technique, and I will show you guys what I did. It didn't really work out, so I went to kind of a plan B. I don't really know how I am feeling about this look, but I'm also not feeling the best, so that may be why. And I forgot to say the brush that I'm using today. This is the number 7 brush, and this is like the biggest of the blending brushes. It's really good if you have very small eye space or even hooded eyes, which I do think I consider myself to have hooded eyes, but it's super small for me. So yeah, take that as you will. But yeah, I just kind of laid it on my lid. I didn't go really far down, but that's okay because I'm going to be doing a couple more things on top. It really doesn't matter. Now, originally what I wanted to do was kind of do like a liner technique look on top of this, and I wanted to use the shade Shadows, and it just didn't seem to do what I really wanted it to do. So I did use the 6 brush, which is their pencil brush, and you can see there is a slight difference in the shade. Now, it could be the brush. This is a nice fluffy kind of pencil brush, but it's just ultimately it's just not giving what I want. And yeah, it could be a couple of different reasons. It could also be because I actually put that green down first, and so it picked up a lot of the stickiness from my primer, and so this gray just doesn't really have a lot to stick to really emphasize its depth. So there's a couple of different reasons why. So then I decided, let me try to go into the dark. So I took this same brush and I kind of went back and forth between Shadows and Into the Dark, and it worked, but it still just didn't give me what I was envisioning. Although it's working out a lot better on this eye, if we're being honest. I'm being sloppy with it, but that's because it just did not work out this well on my other eye. But apparently it wants to work this time, of course, when I'm showing you guys. So long story short, because it did not work out the way I was wanting in my other eye, I literally just took this shade Obscure right on that same blending brush, and I just blended right on top, and it worked out. So I'm just gonna kind of get this to where it was in that moment. Although, like I said, it looks like maybe I used more in the dark on this eye, because it's still sticking. It's sticking more than it stuck on the other eye. So I definitely need to do some investigation to see what I can do to really get the technique and the look that I was envisioning. Regardless though, after that I went into the 4 brush and I went into the last shimmer, which is Numinous, which is the more purpley shade, and I took that. First I began to just take that in my inner corner, and then I decided to get this all over my lid. Now, what you will see once again is that this looks pretty, but it's really not giving what I would like and what I think it can really provide. So I took my finger and then further kind of emphasized this shadow. And I just think that these shimmers, although they do pick up eventually with brushes, I just think, at least in this particular palette, it's just better if you have either a glitter glue down or just with your finger. And I just prefer to use it my finger in this current moment. So after that, I just went ahead and put on my liner and my mascara, and then of course my top liner. What I will say is that now that I've seen testing out the Into the Dark, and I used I think a little bit more on this right eye, I think it definitely could have easily deepened up Obscure without a black liner, but genuinely I didn't see it. And maybe what I'll do is I'll try and sneak some of that on that outer V just to see it, and you know, then it can wrap this whole look up a little bit more. So give me a second, I'm gonna kind of reconfigure it. I think I might, no, I can't do lashes today, I'm just tired, but you can't see my, give me a second and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just really quickly, literally just took that pencil brush and I only used it on the outer V, right around where that wing is, just to deepen out it. And I just wanted you guys to see the difference between the two looks, to see the difference between really adding some depth. I also did take it down my lower lash line as well, and then no depth. Granted, you don't have a liner on this side either, but I really just, you know, seeing the difference in what these small steps can do in a look. Okay, so I'm gonna stop talking now, finish up my look. Or actually, let me show you guys, since I didn't show you guys the other eye. So what I did is I just took, like I said, Into the Dark with the pencil brush. And since I don't have a liner, you guys can really just see it truly being applied. And you can see how it's really just adding a good amount of depth, so much depth, which with the palette like this, that's exactly what I'm wanting and expecting, right? Because this is like a full-on winter fall palette, even though, you know, it's summer and I'm using it, but that's okay. And I do kind of just go into Obscure, which is that green, just to kind of blend it out just a little bit, because I don't want harsh lines as much as I can avoid. So yeah, that's how I built that out, and I just think it looks so much better, like tremendously better. So now for real, all I'm gonna do is add my liners, my mascara, and then I'll come back to show you guys the finished look. Alrighty guys, so this is the finished look. I must say, for a look that I did not think was gonna come out well, because I really wasn't liking the color combination all that well, and I wasn't liking what I saw happen. As you guys saw, as I slowly kind of gave certain shades more time, more attention, I was able to really, I feel, bring a solid look that I'm actually genuinely happy about. So that's it for look number 2. Of course, as with all of my looks in this video, if you're interested in seeing what's the rest of the stuff that's on my face, check out down below in the description box. It will be listed down there. But with that said, let's get into look number 3. Alrighty guys, so now we are into the third and final look, and I'm really excited for this look. I'm just excited, right? So I primed with the Glam Light Icing primer, and I have it in the shade Caramel, in case you were wondering. So first things first, I went into Pre-Ternal Natural. Wait, I guess that's the word. I don't even know what that is. So that's it. And I used my Wayne Goss 19. I wanted to really challenge this palette in these 3 looks with different brushes. So brushes that aren't kind of made to really work with this particular palette or this brand's formula. And I also just wanted to try different primers as well. I have been testing all of these primers otherwise, so I kind of have started to get an opinion on each primer in its own right. So yeah, I'm just packing this down. This is going to be pretty much the main purple that you see in my look. and I really love this shade. The shade definitely comes off more vibrant than I was expecting, and in a good way. If I wanted this to go even darker, I could have deepened it up today with the Into the Dark. I think that's kind of the more or less black for this kind of palette, but I didn't want that today. Today I just really wanted to see what I could do with these purples and then add the green to just have some fun. Although I should have used the shadows. No, I used it yesterday, so I've used all the shadows. Okay. Anyways, so yeah, like I said, just packing this on. Then I went into my Eddie Funkhauser large blending brush, and I went into the shade Ascend, and really ultimately this color kind of got blended away, but I started with this in my inner half of my crease and then more or less blending out this outer edge portion of the other purple. But like I said, it ultimately kind of just got blended away. It's such a light shadow, and it might just be the type of brush that I'm using, and I'm also not attempting to grab that much product, but it's just, you know, I just don't find that I need that shadow to necessarily blend out pre-ternal natural. That shadow is just blendable, you know, so I just don't need it. And although I don't have the best technique, I find that this shadow, because it's so blendable, it blends on its own. I don't really need Ascend to help get it blended. Okay, so as you can see, it's doing all that. At this point, per usual, last minute Sally, I decided to set my brow bone highlight. So I am going to do that with my Project Pan shadow and just use that same brush that I always use. I love to do this kind of after I figured out my crease work, to kind of clean up any area that I may feel I did too much of the shadow, and it just helps to kind of blend it out without actually having to use a blending shadow. So as you can see, super easy crease work today. And honestly, with me, super easy crease work in general. Always. That's just how your girl rolls. I do like, and I still want to just really pack that outer V, though I really want that to be nice and dark. Okay. Then what I did is I took a flat large shader brush from Sigma. This is the E60, and I went into Obscure. I don't know, I kind of wanted to do a matte lid. I didn't necessarily want to do the kind of predictable, which would have been to put numinous. Is that the word? Numinous, yeah, to put numinous on top on this part. So I kind of wanted to be unpredictable and also just see what this color combination did. So it's interesting. And then I took another Eddie Funkhauser brush. This is his pencil brush, and then that's when I went into the numinous or the purple metallic, and I just put that in my inner corner, beginning of my lower lash line, and slightly just kind of covering up pretty much the rest of my primer that I kind of leave open naturally. So that's the look, right? Super simple, super easy, but I kind of like the color combination, and I like the amount of depth that I was able to get from that one shade. Like I said, if I wanted to, I could have added Into the Dark to really deepen this out even more, but I like this, I do. So I'm gonna put liner on this eye, I'm gonna put mascara on this eye, and I think I am gonna go ahead and throw on some lashes too, just to really accentuate this kind of vibe. And then I'm gonna come back to kind of give you guys my full thoughts right now when it comes to this palette, because now I have tried it now 3 different times. Alrighty guys, so this is the finished look. I'm pretty sure I forgot to say yesterday, but yesterday I was wearing my Miami lashes from Lily Lashes, and today I'm wearing actually my Unearthly lashes that are in Divine. And you know, I just felt like at least one of these looks I had to just go ahead and throw on these lashes. So let's talk about the main kit and caboodle, which is the In the Dark palette. Now I've already given you guys all of the information, details, all of that stuff at the beginning. What I want to say about this palette is that this feels very reminiscent formula wise to that of the Lure palette that I most recently picked up. Now if you know me and my kind of association when it comes to this brand, previously before the Lure palette I actually picked up the Strawberry and Dream palette, I believe it's called, and I didn't necessarily like the formula. I felt like there were quite a few of the shimmers that were quite chunky and I did not enjoy that. Whereas in these last two palettes I found that these formulas in the shimmers particularly are a lot smoother, a lot nicer. I will say, in my opinion, it's easier to pick these up on your finger. You can pick them on a brush, but you really have to wiggle your brush in there to really pick it up. And depending on the brush and depending on how much time I have, your girl just ain't about it, okay? I'm not about it. So either way though, I definitely agree that these are definitely a lot better of a formula than I've had in more recent, well, I guess more distant past, because it wasn't recent. But anyways, that's that. The mattes are beautiful. I've always not had a problem with the mattes at all. I will say for me personally, now that I have this palette in my hands and I can kind of play around with it, I don't think that like the shadow shade or the Ascend shade really are necessary. Like I showed you guys today, I feel like the Ascend shade is very much a blended out form of preternatural. I have to be saying that wrong. That's the word, preternatural. Anyways, it's a very much a blended out shade of that, and so I don't know how much it was necessary to have that in such a small curated color scheme. In addition, shadow, although I like the idea of having at least two shades to deepen out look with this palette, I truly feel like In the Dark is the only one that we really needed, because shadow just really doesn't hold a candle to it. That said, I am who I am just a small person on this platform that enjoys putting makeup on my face and recording it, you know. So I am still very happy that I picked this palette up. I still think the palette is so beautiful, but if I had to, I would just keep these 5. Just kidding. I would keep these 6. I would get rid of these 2 and add something else. I would have loved to have like one more shimmer, maybe like a green shimmer, because I really love this shade. This is like my favorite shade, which is Obscure, and I would have loved if I had a green shimmer to kind of just to do a one-toned look with that. I think that would have just added the cream to the crop, because you got a blue, you got a purple. I would have just loved if we could have taken out at least one of these, more so this one than this one, and just added a green shimmer. Life would have been complete. But either way, I'm very happy with my purchase. If you've enjoyed Unearthly's cosmetics formula in the more recent past, not more so the distant formula, because I do think that they have slowly kind of revamped these palettes to provide their better formula, specifically the shimmers. I'm telling you, the Strawberry Dream shimmers were just so chunky and it was not the move. But these last 2 palettes I've tried have just been really it. So if you've tried more of their recent formulation and you really like that and you like the color scheme, I say go for it. It definitely was worth it. Of course, it's always find an influencer's code. There are a lot of people who have codes with this brand. I personally do not, and I personally do not get any PR from the brand, but I say do some walking with your fingers on that interweb and get a code for you so it's a little bit cheaper. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Today was Saturday's video, so tomorrow is Sunday, and on Sunday we're gonna have another video in my must-have must-gag series. So I will see you guys then, and yeah, bye guys.